Welcome to a fresh episode of the Genuine ScLoHo Media and Marketing Podcast. This is episode number 443. My name is Scott Howard, also known as ScLoHo. What's a ScLoHo, you ask? Well, it's a nickname that uses my first two letters of my first name, Scott, first two letters of my middle name, Lewis, and first two letters of my last name, Howard. So it's ScLoHo. If you write it down, mash them together, it spells ScLoHo, but it's easier to pronounce just as two syllables, and that's how you get ScLoHo. ScLoHo began as an email address, then my online persona, and since 2017, it's been a podcast. This is an ongoing collection of media, marketing, and personal insights. Each episode is usually less than 10 minutes long. This is the audio reading of an article that you can find at my website, scotthoward.me. Altogether, I've published over 1,700 articles, and I've got a couple of free gifts for you, too, with no strings attached. The first one is early access to my Sound Advice newsletter. It's emailed nearly every week with the exception of holiday weeks, and there's a link in each email for more practical tips on the advice that I share. I also use this material in some of my podcast episodes, but that's not until after a few weeks have passed since the free Sound Advice newsletter that was sent out. Now, the other gift is a complimentary problem-solving consultation. If you're in the Fort Wayne, Indiana metro or close by, it's best to do this in person. I can also do some Zoom meetings anywhere. Drop me a note to scott@scloho.net. That's scott@scloho.net for either one of these offers. Now, let's jump into this week's podcast episode, and this one is titled, "The Net Doesn't Make It Rain." I just learned the other day that another one of our family members wants to take up fly fishing. So his parents are going to get him the pole and the supplies and teach him how to fish. I used to fish a little bit when I was his age, but it really wasn't my thing. I've also seen fishing with a net, which can be a lot more productive if your goal is to capture a lot of fish at once. But a fishing net doesn't create the fish, does it? Well, that's the subject of a recent Sound Advice newsletter that I sent out this month, and here's what I shared. A fishing net is useful, but it doesn't create fish. That's a good way to think about some of today's advertising. Search ads, retargeting, and lead forms can be very useful. They can help catch people who are already looking, but they usually don't create the demand by themselves. And they don't give people much reason to prefer you over others. That's where many business owners are misled. A customer searches your business, clicks your ad, fills out a form, or calls from Google, and it's easy to give all the credit to the final step. But really now, what made them search? What made your name familiar? What made them trust you more than the next company? That usually happens long before that click, that form fill, or, that online stuff. Brand building, word of mouth, reputation, consistency, audio advertising, community involvement, customer experience. Those are the things that help fill up the pond of prospects. Marketing effectiveness expert Les Binet made this point in a June 2024 Marketing Week article, saying, "When you have a strong brand, people will be more responsive to your performance marketing because they're already warmed up." That's the point. The net works better when the pond has already been filled. So yes, use the net, but just don't expect the net to make it rain. Now, if you'd like to see 7 ways to fill the pond before you cast the net, drop me a note, or you can find this article at my website at scotthoward.me, scotthoward.me. And if you have any questions about advertising and marketing that you don't know who to ask, you can feel free to ask me email me, scott@WOWO.com. That's scott@WOWO.com, or scott@ScLoHo.net. That's scott@ScLoHo.net. By the way, even though I'm recording this at the Federated Media Studios in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and I work for WOWO Radio, and this is being promoted by my employer, everything that I say or write is strictly my own thoughts, and not necessarily the opinions of Federated Media or any of their affiliations and or advertisers. Remember, feel free to drop me a note to scott@ScLoHo.net.
Podcasts by Federated Media.